And then in terms of anticipation, this is something that I think probably the one thing that's really lacking in just about all the sort of pickup and seduction stuff I see out there, and especially mainstream dating advice, is indicating to a woman early on and throughout the interaction that if she goes to bed with you, she's going to have a great time, that you know how to make her feel good. And, you know, there's several components to this, but approaching with setting a sexual precedent right off the bat, I've found is the easiest and most effective way to do this. Because it just sets the whole relationship, the whole interaction on the sexual track. Because, you know, you go up to a woman and give her some sort of physical compliment, tell her she's pretty, tell her, you know, you noticed her, she's beautiful, whatever you say. And then you just move into a conversation. Well, you have, now that if she's talking to you and she's going with it, she's sort of agreeing to this sexual precedent that you set. Also, if she's not open to having sex with a new guy, she'll probably, you know, reject you, which what she's really saying is, you know, it's not going to happen, don't waste your time. And that could be because she already has a man or several, or other issues. Maybe she has an STD, maybe she's just not in the mood, whatever, all kinds of reasons. Throughout the interaction, indicating that you would be good in bed. And so to be good in bed, how do you do that? Just using the focality system in bed, basically. But you don't, being good in bed is actually really easy. And it's sadly what actually makes a woman feel good in bed is something that you really don't hear a lot in terms of like sex advice. You hear a lot of like techniques like, oh, touch her this way to stimulate her G-spot, or kiss her here and stuff like that. But really it's all about how you think. It's always about how you think. So when you know how to make a woman feel good in bed, feel good sexually, and then you start taking that way of thinking and applying it in your way of thinking during the initial conversation and any interaction you have up until sex, she sees that you think in a way that's going to make you good in bed. So focality is basically curiosity, appreciation, expression. But really being attentive to her, exploring her, at first her mind and then her body. When you explore her mind and you're attentive and you're really focused on her and you're not trying to think of like what you're going to say next to impress her, you're actually trying to learn about her, and you're also revealing yourself openly, honestly, not trying too hard to prove yourself, but just sort of being naked on an emotional level without like trying to force any sort of opinion, without trying to get her to see you in any specific way, but rather just being you. That shows that you're not going to be inhibited when it comes time to start fucking. Like, you're going to give it to her. You're not going to be afraid to like use your dick to penetrate and thrust and make her feel you. So you're doing this with your personality in the initial interaction. So, you know, there's advice like, oh, you know, to give a woman orgasms, maybe you want to do this certain position or thrust this way, or, you know, I've heard all kinds of wild stuff, 10 short thrusts, 1 deep one, you know, whatever. What I found that makes me good in bed and makes sex great with women is that there's almost no thinking about, am I doing it right? Instead, it's almost like I'm showing my dick off, like I'm showing her how fucking powerful and hard I am for her. And I'm making her feel that all the way. So that, you know, whether I'm technically, on a mechanical level, whether I'm moving fast or slow or different angles, all the mechanical stuff doesn't matter as much. All that's going to vary and change depending on how I feel, how she's moving. You know, it's sort of like this dance, right? But what's the same, what's always consistent is that I'm thrusting as I feel, 100%, not holding back. And women can feel that. You're expressing your masculinity as purely as possible on the most physical, primal level. You know, using your body, your hands, your mouth, your words, your eyes, but especially your cock. And the way you use it is when you use it that way, when you make her feel you in that way. That's what makes great sex. And, you know, there's going to be preferences in terms of positions and that kind of thing, but That's what makes you good in bed. Now, you can show her that you will do that in bed in the initial interaction. And so that's where the focality system comes into play, where you're expressing yourself. It's thrust, and that's the third pillar of the ACT leadership system. So, and like I said, exploring the woman, doing that verbally, psychologically, in the first interaction and any subsequent interaction. But, you'll find that when you start doing this, women want to go to bed with you. So when I say the first interaction, I mean, we're talking you meet her, and if you don't take her home that night, probably one date, maybe two. And by date, I don't mean like fancy dinner date where we're sitting across the table interviewing each other. I mean like you're hanging out like friends. Like it's I don't do like formal fancy stuff. We hang out like two regular people. We have a drink, maybe do something fun. And usually sex happens pretty fast because the woman wants to.